nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to tonight's Arundecoit Planning Board meeting. Please be aware of the fire exits. In the event of emergency, please move in a calm and orderly fashion down the stairs, and please do not use the elevator. The meeting notes are taken by the secretary for the purpose of a record of minutes, so please identify yourself each time you come to the podium, and please speak into the microphone. The meeting minutes are not intended to be a verbatim record, but only to indicate the sum and substance of the proceedings. The meeting is being recorded by our ICAT department, broadcast live on social media, and on Spectrum Channel 1303. The board will follow the items in the order they appear on the agenda, with copies of the agenda are near the door. After the case has been called, the applicant and/or agent shall come to the podium to present their case. During this time, the planning board members will have the opportunity to question and comment on the case. Then the case will be open for public input. Anyone wishing to speak to the board regarding this application will be called by the chair to come up to the podium, identify themselves, their address, and direct any and all comments to the board and to the board only. Speakers will be given 5 minutes to speak. Once public input has been completed, the applicant or representative will be given the opportunity to respond. Please call the first case on our agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First case on the agenda is case number PB 2025.06.01. Request by Robert Tscheider for steep slope environmental protection overlay district approval to construct a 162 square foot deck in the rear yard within a steep slope area on premises 260 Point Pleasant Road in an R2 residential district. So if you want to step up to the podium and present your case.
Good evening. I'm Bob Chitterer here in regards to 260 Point Pleasant. And as stated, a pretty simple case. 162 square foot deck off the back of the house. Square, about 5 foot off the ground. And I think Conservation gave me a couple requirements or requests, which I'm adhering to. They want no spoils over it. They want piers instead of sunken 4x4s. So, not really ready for a presentation. I could have done a slideshow or something if I knew it was coming here. I guess I just say, do you have any questions for me?
Sure. Does anybody have any questions? We went over this in detail in the workshop. I think we're all good. And you're good with all the comments from the Conservation Board?
Oh, absolutely, sure.
Okay. Anybody, the staff have any comments? Labella?
Kate Powers, LaBella Associates. No, LaBella doesn't have any comments. If I'm understanding the plan correctly, there's no grading or site work that's going to be conducted as part of this project. Also, based on the lack of site work and the size of the structure, I would categorize this as a type 2 action under seeker.
Any other questions? Is this a public hearing? Yes. Oh, please have a seat for a quick second. I'll open this for a public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak about this case, please come up to the podium. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Okay, would somebody like to make a motion?
I can, Mr. Chairman. Regarding public hearing case number PB 25.06.01, a request by Robert, and I'm apologizing, Robert, if I butcher your last name, Tscheider for steep slope environmental protection overlay district approval to construct a 162 square foot deck in the rear yard within a steep slope area on premises located at 260 Point Pleasant Road in the R2 residential district. I therefore go ahead and approve this application with the conditions that the applicant just satisfy the comments of the Conservation Board.
Second.
All those approve, say aye.
Aye.
Any objections? Any abstains? And we have one absent. And it was a type 2 for seeker. I just want to reiterate. It's approved. Good luck with your project. Give me 1 second, Michelle, please. I'm sorry, who was the second on that? Alan, thank you. I'm good.
This is case number PB 2025.06.02, request by Costage Engineering acting as agent for Beacon Estates LLC, Daniel Kappa Jr. for subdivision approval and steep slope and woodlot environmental protection overlay district approvals for the creation of a new 5-lot subdivision to construct 5 single-family dwellings on premises 245 and 298 Newport Road and tax ID 077.16-1-31.21 in the R1 residential district.
Michelle, just so you know, I don't have a sheet for that one. Oh, I have it. I'm sorry. I got it. Thank you.
Good evening, Ray Ramondi, Costage Engineering, here representing Beacon Estates LLC. Presenting tonight our 5-lot subdivision on Newport. We discussed at the, hopefully I answered most of your questions at the workshop, but we have just received a Labella sheet, and we haven't had time to digest that yet, but it didn't look like there was anything too concerning to our clients. So we discussed at the workshop that we had potentially weren't going to go for both, but we decided that they do want to keep the layout, the site plan exactly the way it is. They don't want to make any changes to it. They want to put the houses where they're located. And that originally was done to minimize the amount of trees that we had to take out and minimize the amount of grading that we had to do. So that's all been taken into account. Outside of that, if you have any questions.
So you haven't had a chance to review Labella's, so I think it may be good to have you go over the letter with them. So
Bernie, do you mind if we do the county comments at the same time? I mean, they were pretty comprehensive also.
if you can cover both.
Is that okay?
Sure, yeah, I can try my best to cover both. So our comments, understandable that the applicant has not had a chance to take a look at these since these are very recent. I'll just briefly go through these comments. Comment number 1, so actually we didn't necessarily have to categorize this project because under the county comments, they had noted that this is a realty subdivision and requires approval by the Department of Health, and so that categorizes this as a type 1 seeker action. So the applicant will need to, with whatever resubmission they have, submit a full Part 1 EAF. Additionally, in that EAF, it will note the acreage of disturbance, and so we obviously want the applicant to calculate that. You know, we took a look at the plans that we saw that it's over an acre, and that would mean that it would need to have coverage under the general construction permit, so a SWIP.
Yes, it is 1.26 acres of
Great.
disturbance.
Our math was good, though, that's what we
Yes.
have as well. Number 3, we have a suggestion of, we understand that for the E-pods, they are sort of there's general boundaries in that if your property's within those boundaries, it needs to come to this board to be looked at on a case-by-case basis. Like in the past, we've had applicants come and they're in a woodlot, but there are no trees, et cetera. And so one of our suggestions to be more precise would be that the applicant could identify the areas with 15% or greater slope, and that might be helpful to the board as that's what the regulations categorize as a steep slope. Number 4, we would like some additional information to ensure that development on these steep slopes will be able to be completed without any significant erosion or instability. And so that might be a geotechnical evaluation, just better understanding the soil characteristics on site, any constraints they might have, as well as any sort of measures that can be taken to stabilize that area.
Could I ask,
Yeah.
they had, this is property has had probably 2 or 3 different plans over the last 20 years, and they have had geotechnical results in the past. They also had historical results, looking for any opportunities in those areas. So those 2 areas, I don't know if that can still be covered or if we have to do that again.
That's great if you already have it. If you want to submit it, we'll take a look. As long as, I mean, that area is undeveloped, so I'm assuming that whatever was done, it hasn't changed.
Hasn't changed.
As long as it's not so old. So
Okay.
if you want to just submit that, we'll take a look, and if we have any additional questions, but no use reinventing the wheel if you've already had that site evaluated. Next, we want to ensure that the Conservation Board can provide final comments. Their previous comments, it seemed like the culmination of that was we want to go and have a site visit. Hopefully they're able to go see the site, and that can help inform their recommendations. So I would suggest that this be placed on the next Conservation Board meeting, so that they can review our comments and any updated information from the applicant. Next is driveway slope. So looking at some of these lots, the slope is fairly significant. We have on lot 5, 18%, lot 3, anywhere between 12 and 15, lot 1, 16%. Our comment is just driveways typically are limited to 10% slope. You know, obviously there are issues that come with steep driveways, more difficult to navigate, especially, you know, with plows, icy conditions, you know, your car bottoms out, things like that. So either this needs to be regraded or providing some more information about the driveways.
We tried to keep it around 15, but
Okay.
the problem was that we wanted to also limit the disturbance of trees. So if we do crossbacks to try and smooth it out, we're disturbing more area, we're disturbing more trees.
Sure.
So we kind of got it caught in the middle there. But we'll take a look at it.
Okay. Next, we recommend that the applicant have a meeting with Commissioner McGee, or at least coordinate with DPW. One for the driveway connections, where the driveways are connecting with the road, as well as just talk about, you know, the conditions of that road, the pavement, any drainage improvements, et cetera. 8, we would just like the applicant to clarify site distances for all the driveways. We want to make sure that people are able to exit their driveways and can safely look either way without, you know, a high risk of conflict or crash. Number 9, we have we ask that the applicant ensure that if sanitary sewer meets or exceeds 10 feet per second, that provisions are provided against displacement. So obviously you know that it's pretty steep slope going down there, and when you have sort of high-speed wastewater sometimes the pipes can be dislodged, or it can, cause damage potentially. So just further clarification on that in those areas that are most steep. Proposed grading, that's number 10. So in our code, it indicates that finished grade for all cut and fill slopes shall not exceed 3/1. The use of retaining structures may be required to eliminate slopes of that degree. All such retaining walls must be approved by town engineer. Site plan shall show proposed contours and indicate all proposed slopes that are greater to 3 than 1. And so either revise those to comply with this section or indicate, what other measures you're taking in order to stabilize that. Stabilization timeline, so we asked that the applicant include a note to ensure that stabilization meets the required steep slope EPOD area regulation. Pretty typical, all disturbed steep slope areas to be regraded and stabilized as soon as practical in less than 30 days. Because obviously if you have sort of bare soil, that's gonna just wash away. Next is 12 drainage provisions. So asking the applicant to describe how drainage will meet, it's section 23552 D1. Surface runoff or downspout water will not be allowed to discharge on slopes greater than 15%. Said waters shall be discharged from a closed drainage system to the toe of the slope or into a recharge structure or dedicated stormwater system. Storm drainage methods shall be shown and noted on the site plan. So on the plan, it said roof leaders shall be connected to a storm sewer drainage system via 6-inch pipe with cleanouts. However, there's limited storm sewer drainage system available to tie into, and the plans don't indicate connection to an existing drainage system. So just more information on that coordination with DPW as well. 13, we just want to speak to one of the details on the plans. It's that donut variation for the stone and block drop inlet protection. It's almost exactly like the blue book. We just wanted some clarification on where the ground surface is, because obviously you're trying to get it into the inlet there, so that's just a more technical question. 14, the woodlot EPOD boundary. So I took a look at the town's GIS mapper that includes where all the EPODs are. And so it looks like the layers might be a little bit off. It looks like that the woodlot EPOD extends further, I'll say north. I
North.
don't have a north arrow on
Probably
there,
north-
but I'm assuming
north.
that up is north. And so, potentially I'll get with the town to see if there is, if we can have maybe the shape files or something from the EPOD map so that it can be more precise on there. 15, tree protection measures. So if you take a look at page 4, in the applicant's site plan, they showed the trees that are being removed as they're shaded in and they have a darker outline. We wanted to note that additional trees may be disrupted. Just looking at where the supposed sanitary sewer easement is, it depends on how they're going to be putting the utilities in, but we're asking the applicant to provide an updated demo plan or a tree protection plan indicating which trees they are protecting and how they're going to be protected, a detail where fencing is going to go, etc. And then 16 is Monroe County comments. I think I picked up on some of the major ones from their letter. I can also just quickly scan through the county letter as well. First that was mentioned is that the county indicated that this is a realty subdivision. On page 5, I included the section of New York State rules and regs indicating that realty subdivisions are type 1. We'll have to go through the long form. So the applicant will give us the part 1 long form, and then the board will have to do parts 2 and 3 of the long form. B, the county identified that a portion of the site may lie within the 100-year floodplain. So this is likely something to bring to the Director of Development Services attention, just to ensure that this is within the National Flood Insurance Program's compliance. Next to, the county indicated that a New York State DEC freshwater wetland, this site may contain a portion of that. Also, national wetland inventory as well. And then, New York State has new wetland regulations that just came into effect January of this year. So, and I can't remember, but I believe the town might have also indicated that this needs to be submitted.
It has been submitted.
Great. So then whenever you get update of that, because that'll determine if it's within the site, if it's close to the site, the buffer that might have to be applied, et cetera. And then I'll just take a quick look through the county comments.
The two that were concerning to, I could not find a map which showed any 100-year floodplain in there, anywhere in the area, and I couldn't, they referenced the stream running through the property, and I also could not find a reference to any water body actually running through the property. That's all below
Right.
the north side in the Bay Area, which is way off our property line.
I would say, for at least for me, the most important is getting that feedback from DEC about the wetland, because I did also look, and when they have their maps, and they're not 100%, but that's kind of used for reference, and I believe it also indicated it wasn't in a 100-year floodplain, and I've also looked, and I didn't see a stream there either, so I'm more focused on what DEC has to say about
About
the wetland.
Gotcha.
Is there going to have to be a buffer? And then obviously nothing within that buffer can be disrupted. So that's what I'm more concerned about, at least from those specific comments.
No problem.
Another one I'll just read out from the county. This site is located within the area that drains directly into Arundecoit Bay. The quality of the stormwater from this site has a direct impact on the water quality of Arundecoit Bay. As indicated before, that this plan will also need to be approved by Monroe County Department of Public Health. Also, this says project has not been sent to Monroe County Environmental Services. Applicant should verify whether this agency has jurisdictional requirements for this project. And New York State DOT reviewed the application and did not have any comments.
Thank you. So, Mr. Ramondi, based on that, I assume you're going to want a table and come back?
Yes.
Okay. So, is there any comments from the board? I just do want to make a comment. I found it very beneficial to walk the area. I did it with the owners of the property. I would encourage all of the staff to do it with somebody there, because I wouldn't have known to go beyond the fence for one aspect of that. So I think it's very important in the future for the Conservation Board and anybody else to make sure if there's a site walk, if you can do a site walk, I would recommend it and do it with either the engineer or the owners of the property there to be able to point out all the different
And
areas.
we did mark it out so you could see that even though there are a lot of trees, a lot of them are not in great shape. It's not, there are many that are sickly, let's call it that.
Right.
So I'd like them to observe the areas that we tried to keep that in, and note that we're limiting the amount of trees that we have.
Right, and that's why I think it's very important to do the site
They
walk
see, yeah.
and make sure we
Yeah, I would-
get that arranged.
I've walked the site myself today. and some things were not real clear to me, like on, I can't remember what it is. It's the one that's furthest or west and north, whatever that is. It looked like the back of the house was 2 feet away from a steep slope that went down. I mean, it looked like a cliff.
On
so
the
it would
north
be
side of the road or on the south side?
On the north side.
North side of the road.
Yeah, so it would be helpful. I'm also concerned a lot about what you guys are doing with the stormwater.
That property on the north side actually did have a home there at one time. It's been gone for several years, but there was actually a foundation and a home there.
Is it correct that it was a town dump to the left of that? Is that correct, Michelle?
Yes,
one
and
time.
property to the left of the fence is owned by the town, and it was a previous dump area.
Is there any dump contamination on the property you guys own?
Not that we're aware of. We had that
Okay.
analyzed years ago, so.
Has anybody bored into any of it?
I know the owners had geotech down there, and they did sampling, and also New York State Historic Society did sampling. So,
That'd be cool to see that report.
seeing if we can dig it up, it might be.
Any other comments?
Should open the public hearing, just
Yeah.
for anybody that's
Oh,
here.
yeah, so I will do that.
All right,
before.
thank you.
Before we table, I will open the public hearing. I'll open the public hearing. Anybody who would like to speak to this matter, please come to the podium.
Good evening. Diane Hamilton, 161 Baycrest Drive. I'm not here to either speak for or against this project, but I do have several questions. Is this the same developer that built the condos at the end of Newport Road that have been vacant for years and are now boarded up? If my memory is correct, I believe Dan Camp built those condos too. If so, I hope this endeavor is more successful and there aren't any vacant or abandoned buildings neglected that are eyesores around the bay. And my second thing is, I believe several months ago, if I could recall when this was, did another developer come before the planning board seeking permits to also build on Newport Road? And are these new homes part of that, or is there another development scheduled for Newport Road?
So I'll let any other questions, and I'll let the
That's
applicant
it.
come up. and-
I'm not, like I said, I'm not for or against, but I just had questions for the board, and okay, that's why I'm here.
Yeah, so I'll let the applicant speak, but I do know that they're not the owners of the property that's being developed at the end of the road. And the property's down towards the bay, where the old Newport
old-
House used to be.
So
where the
those
condos are.
condos that are closed,
Is not part of this development.
but that was Dan Kappa who did those years ago.
No, I don't believe so, but I'll let them respond. And then the second thing is,
Well,
the
okay,
the applicant at that has those condos at the end did come before this board again. And Michelle, I can't remember what exactly they came for, re-permit, for the building permit?
It was renewal of the Environmental Protection Overlay District permits, I believe.
Right.
I don't have the file right in front of me, but if you want to call me tomorrow, I can discuss it.
It was a different development.
so
a
there are
different
two
development.
developments going on, correct?
There's only one going on at the moment, and these
Okay.
guys want to do something.
I'm still confused.
Okay, the ones at the end, okay, are the ones that were here about 2 months ago. I think.
Okay, the old condos that are
condos,
boarded up.
correct.
Okay, so somebody wants to do something with those. and then-
They just got their permits
Perfect.
updated.
That's all I was just as a neighbor wondering what was going
Oh,
on
no,
down
that's
there.
fine. And then I'll
appreciate
let
it.
them speak to the property, the ownership and so forth.
Appreciate it, thank
Yeah,
you.
no problem. Any other, before you do that, there was one more person that wants to come. Let's get everybody.
John Sipp, excuse me, John Sipp, 46 Mooring Line Drive. And as a resident of Bay Tree Estates, which is just before this new proposed development, our main concern is with the traffic on Newport Road. Given the fact that you've already approved 45 units on that development that you just talked about, and then another 5 units here, we assume that there's been a traffic study done with Newport Road, considering it's a standard two-way road with a blind curve, and it's the only road that goes to that area. So if that road was shut down and there was an emergency, there'd be no way for anybody to get out. But I assume that you've done a study, and I'd like to know where I could find that study.
Oh, go ahead.
So I'll just note that I believe that I think it was RSM Development came for that project that's down at the bottom of the road. And that's open to the public to view that application. I will say that that approval remained valid. It never expired from when this was originally approved. And so this board, I believe when they reviewed this, they did not look at the development, they only looked at the impacts to the EPOD boundaries. I know that's like a lot of technicalities, but this board was not able to renegotiate any of the number of units, the placement of the buildings, any of those things. But I would suggest that you come into town hall and take a look at that original approval and that application. That should have all of the information provided.
Including the road study, or the traffic study?
Oh, I'm sorry, it would have to be a Freedom of Information Act request, but it would be whatever is within that application.
Okay, it's just, you're adding 45 units plus another 5, so that's an additional 110, 20 cars, plus all the delivery trucks, garbage trucks, contractors and everything else, and it's one road. And it's a very narrow road, it's on a slope, and again, there's no out, it's one road. So, I can find that study in the Freedom of Information Act.
You can find the full application from RSM for that development.
Okay. And where would I find the site map for this new development?
You can come into town hall and they have the application on file. So, but you have to foil it. So you have to fill out a Freedom of Information Act request form. But it is here at town hall and it is public information. So you can request that and then review that application.
Do they have to do a FOIL for the current one?
It depends on if the public input is closed this evening or remaining
I'm planning on
open.
keeping it open, so,
You keep it open, then I can distribute it as a public hearing has been scheduled.
okay. So
Correct, Joe?
for the current one,
That's correct.
so Michelle, let him know, for the current one, he can then come to the office to see it
Correct.
without a FOIL.
And as far as you know, with that original traffic study for the RSM development, were there any considerations for modifications to the road?
I wouldn't speak to that because we don't have that information in front of us.
Yeah, I'll just say that this was I can't even remember when this was approved, but this board did not review any roadway upgrades. They only looked at the,
It was more than 12 years ago, I believe. so.
right. So,
I've been on the board 12 years and it was before me, so.
It's longer than 10 years ago.
12 years, yeah, so.
but you're welcome to look at the application as well as whatever minutes are available from that time.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else like to speak? Okay, I'm going to leave the public hearing open, but Mr. Raimondi, please come up if you'd like to address any of the comments.
Yes, just to verify, the property at the bottom of the bay was sold by the Kappas years ago, and the new developer has been down there probably for 20 years developing, and has extended his permit now. So that has nothing to do with our parcels or property, and being that we're only a 5-lot subdivision, traffic study was not warranted on our part. So if whatever he did previously for his 45 applicants would be different. I think, did that address both of those questions?
I just want to clarify, these are single residents that you're proposing?
Correct.
All right.
And we've already, actually, the owners have already had some expressed interest from a couple of people on Mooring Drive, whatever that is, up there, that they would be potentially interested in having some relatives buy those properties, so it's kind of a neighborhood thing, so. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. So, based on that, any comments?
No comments.
Oh, okay. Based on that, regarding case number PB 2025-06-02, I move that we table it. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Burdick, I got. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. No abstains and one absent.
Did we put a deadline on that adjournment?
No? I think there's a certain amount of time they have, right, Michelle?
The applicant agreed to the adjournment, so there's no time lane on it. But are we gonna have them next month, or what are we doing?
I think that'd be up to the applicant, I assume to next month, but might be worth clarifying.
I would suggest that once the applicant has new materials to review, that they should come back before this board.
Right, if
Okay.
they're not, if they don't have them next
That's
month, I'm
good.
not gonna push them.
Yeah, I think we should just have that clear when we're saying it.
Yeah. I just want the board to know that if they plan to attend next month's meeting, which is July 14th to July 28th, they need to have had submitted on June 17th.
Right.
So this is pushing them back
August.
out to the August meetings where he would have to have all this new information submitted by July 15th. Which
So
I
he
don't
can't
anticipate-
come before us in July.
No.
No, he could
Correct.
come to the workshop if he has more information to share, right? So,
Sure.
And we leave the public hearing open, and they have to be
I left the
notified.
public hearing open.
We'll have to have notification for that as well. Plenty of time.
okay, do we have a change of attorneys for the next?
We do. I'm conflicted from advising you all on the Crown Castle application, so I'll be turning it over to Town Council.
Good evening. Michelle, when you're ready, if you could call the next case.
Okay, yes, sorry, let me just pull it up here. So this is cases number PB 2025.04.01, PB 2025.0402, PB 2025.04.303, PB 2025.04.04, and PB 2025.04.07. Regarding applications submitted by Crown Castle Fiber LLC for preliminary final site plan approval to construct and operate small cell wireless facilities on new utility poles at the following locations. These are all in front of, near, or in the vicinity of 122 Mayfair Drive, 7 Leland Road, 10 Lake Terrace, 233 Pinecrest Drive, and 119 Pinecrest Drive. And I believe the applicant has a presentation that she'd like to present to the board.
Thank you.
Do I control with this? Maybe.
I'm gonna say yes.
We'll find out. Okay, I'll check. Good evening. My name is Brandy Spezzano, and I am here to represent Crown Castle Fiber. We're here today because we're proposing to construct new poles in Arundequoit that will result in an enhancement of wireless service and will make it possible for the community to enjoy the latest wireless technologies uninterrupted. We want to review what is planned and how it will affect this community. Sorry, it's at a very weird angle. First, a little bit about us. So Crown Castle has almost 15 years of experience building and maintaining in Arundequoit. We obviously are much longer than that, but just in Arundequoit, small cell network. This is an example of a picture of our very first node here on St. Paul Boulevard and Thomas Ave that was built originally in 2012. And obviously, we have infrastructure like it across the country. Through this work, we enable essential services that keep people safe, allowing them to stay in touch, conduct business, and live their lives every day. This is especially important today as wireless technology has moved from a luxury and convenience to an ever-present part of our lives. For the benefit and safety of your community, citizens, businesses, and first responders all depend on the right wireless infrastructure being in place. We are licensed as a public utility or a competitive local exchange carrier in 48 states plus DC. As you can see, that includes New York. With this classification, we strive to achieve the highest levels of compliance, meaning we follow all state and federal regulations. We have extensive experience in types of installations we're planning for Arundequoit. Currently, we have almost 8,000 small cells in the state of New York and 115 small cell nodes on air or under contract nationwide, supported by miles and miles of fiber backhaul in New York and 90,000 route miles nationwide. We also aim to be good partners to the community and give back through our Connected by Good program. This is a photo of our team cleaning up a park this past July. The past years, we've also partnered with the Boys and Girls Club of America nationwide, including in Rochester, to inspire young people to go into careers in STEM. This year, we've also had an exciting opportunity to be a sponsor of a local Rochester area 4th of July celebration, the City of Greece. People are using wireless devices more now than ever, and there are no indications it will be letting up. People often have 2 to 3 wireless devices on them at any given time, coupled with an increase over the last few years of people working remotely from home or studying from home. This causes congestion. During times of congestion, data speeds may be lowered or throttled on networks which are vital for providing affordable and reliable internet service. So how do you fix the problem? Let's take a look at the difference between what we have in Arundequoit on the street poles versus large cell phone towers and why small cells are needed in the first place. Sometimes it's a problem of coverage where there just isn't infrastructure to support the network. In these cases, adding small cells helps fill in coverage gaps, but coverage is not always the issue. On the left is what happens in densely populated areas when there are too many people on the network. You might see fill bars on your phone but can't place a call or send an email. This means infrastructure is close to capacity and exceeding it in some cases. And with more and more people using devices, this will only get worse if nothing is done. So as you see on the right, by adding new small cells, we are supplementing our large cell towers that are already providing coverage. This provides a much needed boost to capacity. Our existing cell towers in Arundequoit are at capacity. We cannot optimize or maximize the towers anymore, so by adding in small cell antennas in specific selected search areas, they will work with the towers to alleviate congestion and provide a much needed boost to coverage and capacity gaps. We wanted to take a minute to ensure it's clear that we are deploying here in Arundecoit as small cells, not cell towers. Cell towers do use a lot of power to convert a single large to cover a large single geographic area, but small cells are low powered. We do that so we can put more of them closer together, each covering a smaller radius. Because cell towers cover such a large area, by the time the signal gets to you, it often has to bounce around several buildings, trees, or houses. This is no problem for voice calls. For data, though, that signal degradation can have a negative effect on your experience. With small cells, you're closer to the signal and get a more direct line that fast data speeds require. This is important for many of you that may work from home, have children that utilize data for school, and of course the streaming and gaming services utilized in many of our households. One of the biggest advantages our small cells offer is the ability to increase the capacity in a small area. And yes, both towers and small cells are subject to their respective regulatory guidelines, Federal Communications Commission and Public Utilities Commission. Let's talk about how we determine when an existing pole can be used versus when we may need to set a new pole in order to deliver service. The carrier, in this specific case Verizon, will give us a location where they have determined there are issues in the coverage or capacity of their service. On this map, you can see green spots and blue spots. The green spots represent where Verizon's services currently reach, and the blue spots are where they would like new small cells to bring service. From there, we need to find the best possible location to place a small cell. Since we're classified as a public utility, we can place antennas in the public right-of-way, the areas marked in blue on the map. Our primary goal is always to use existing infrastructure, usually existing utility poles. But in some cases where neither are available, which is why we're here today, our solution is often to install either a wood telephone pole or a slimline metal pole, similar in size to a streetlight, designed to integrate with the existing environment. We have to follow all regulations from utilities and the municipality. We are limited by utility regulations of what can already be on a pole where we propose an antenna. In areas like Arundecoit, where many of the poles already include utility-regulated equipment or are located in an easement, finding available poles within specific site locations can be a challenge. This slide illustrates the components of the small cell that are both currently deployed or proposed to be deployed in Arundecoit. There will be an antenna, which is the component that transmits and receives the wireless carrier's radio frequency signals. Sometimes they are located at the top of the poles, as shown here, and sometimes they are located more towards the middle of the pole, as shown on in the photo on the left. This is determined based on the pole owner's guidelines. There is also a shroud, often appearing as a box towards the bottom of the middle of the pole, that houses the equipment like the radios that convert, process, and control the communication signals. Sometimes you will also see meters on the poles. You may see fiber optic cable on the poles that connect the fiber network to the antenna. These wires are covered by a guard and not noticeable. You may also see wires that drop into the ground, which can also house our fiber that we connect via an underground conduit system. This photo illustrates two types of poles we deploy. The wood pole on the left is an existing utility pole, and the pole on the right is a mock-up of a slimline steel pole. We use these poles in areas where utilities are underground, so there are no existing poles we can use to bring service. Safety is an issue that often comes up when discussing small cells. We understand the concerns surrounding radio frequency. In that regard, the only effects you need to anticipate will be positive, the biggest being improved access to emergency services. The FCC estimates that by improving emergency call routing, even by just 1 minute, over 10,000 lives could be saved annually. That shows just how critical network speed and accuracy really are. Whether it's fire, police, or EMS, public safety agencies rely on 5G for location-based routing for E911 services. So calls to 911 from wireless devices will route off the small cells instead of the towers. 5G improves 911 location accuracy, ensures reliable connectivity during disasters, and enables proactive safety tools like sensors that detect hazardous road conditions or environmental threats before incidents occur. Public agencies like Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency and the Department of Homeland Security have both vouched for 5G as critical infrastructure, showing 5G reduces latency, enhances network reliability, and enables mission-critical services. We understand there are many concerns regarding the adverse effects from cellular signals. At ground level, cellular radio frequency levels are no different than TV and radio signals and fall within and actually exceed FCC guidelines. Small cells are non-ionizing and low-powered. You can see on the spectrum where they fall and what they're comparable with. That means they do not have enough energy to damage DNA or tissue, and their signal depth is too shallow to reach or impact deeper biological structures. In fact, both the FDA and FCC have declared that the current exposures to RF limits remain safe for protecting public health. A May 2025 study by Constructor University published in PNAS Nexus exposed human skin cells to high-intensity 5G waves and found no changes in gene expression, DNA, or evidence of heat or radiation damage. The researchers concluded that 5G poses no harmful biological effects even at elevated exposure levels. The World Health Organization recently conducted one of the most comprehensive reviews to date, analyzing over 5,000 studies. They found stronger evidence than ever before that challenges outdated claims leaving RF as possibly carcinogenic. For more information or links to reputable studies, feel free to visit the websites of the FDA, FCC, the Internal Commission on Ionizing Radiation Protection, and the World Health Organization. What do those FCC regulations actually look like when the antenna is sitting on a pole on my street? For those of you who want the hard data of what the FCC states and how we comply, depicted here is the maximum permissible exposure, or MPE, for one of the metal poles we are proposing. The FCC regulates MPE calculations to determine what is both safe at antenna level and at ground level. At antenna level, which is the small section in blue, roughly 25 feet off the ground, there is a 5-foot radius where the MPE level is higher because that is where the antenna sits and emission is strongest. In this radius at antenna level, trained wireless and RF operators are safely able to complete any maintenance or necessary repairs. This is in line with FCC guidelines. At ground level, the portion in green, MPE calculations cannot exceed 100% to be considered safe under FCC guidelines. Our calculation for this antenna is 6.294%. And we did bring one of our RF engineers if there are specific questions related. So now we're just going to look at the specific sites. This is our current small cell presence in Irondequoit. Most fall to the northwest of the town. The larger dots represent our hubs, or the centralized location that houses our equipment, which ties to our larger points of presence. The small dots represent where we have a small cell already up and working or in the process of being built, whether on existing utility poles or the ones we're here to speak about today. Starting with 122 Mayfair Drive, we're proposing a 40-foot wood utility pole that will house our antenna and equipment. A simulation of what this looks like built is on the right. When it is built, it will really be about 34 feet high with our antenna sitting at roughly 25 feet. You can see from Verizon's coverage map in the left corner, there was limited coverage in this area, so the red circle represents the search area we're working in. All of the existing infrastructure in this search area was not in the public right-of-way, so our only viable option was to set a new pole. The proposed pole is on the north side of Mayville Lane and will be in line with the backyard easements along both Mayfair and Summershire. The proposed pole location is not located in front of any residence. You can see from the rendering of Mayville Lane facing east and west, the red line represents where a proposed pole will be located, moved to the same side of the street as requested by the board. As you can see, this wouldn't affect the aesthetics of the town because there's already an existing wood pole. Seven Leland Road, we're proposing a roughly 27-foot steel pole that our antenna will sit on top of, and most equipment housed inside. A simulation of what this will look like built is on the right. We do also have the option to make this a street light, where the street light would sit below the antenna if the board chooses. You can see from the Verizon coverage map, this area also had very limited coverage. The red circle represents the search area. Again, all the existing infrastructure in this search area is not in the public right-of-way, so our only viable option was to set a new pole. The proposed pole is on the southeast corner of Winona Boulevard and Leland Road. This proposed pole location is not located directly in front of any residence, but instead at a corner. You can see from these renderings facing south on Winona Boulevard and west on Leland Road, the red line representing where a proposed pole will be located. Ten Lake Terrace has a bit of an addition through some additional due diligence and a phone call with the residents. We initially proposed a 27-foot steel pole, as shown on the right. Again, option to make this a street light. It was located on the northeast corner of Lake Terrace and Parkview Terrace. However, in doing some extra research, this homeowner had actually requested a phone call to perhaps put it on his property. However, noted that the backyard was very small and placing it on his private property would be in turn even closer to his house. But were able to locate the backyard easement. As you can see, this pole right here is the end of the backyard easement, which we are not allowed to go on. However, we did contact RG&E to see if we could bring power from that site. Some of our limiting options are the ability to get power to our sites, and obviously our metal streetlights or poles that we're placing are coming from underground, and there's a certain footage that we can be away from the pole that we're getting the power from. So we had to make sure that they would be able to bring power from the easement to a pole in the public right-of-way, which we found out that they can. So I spoke with the residents. He also agreed that this was a much better location. So option B, should the board choose to approve, is putting a wood pole, again, in the public right-of-way, in line with the RG&E easement. Again, that pole is not located in front of any residence. Here's how it would look from both directions. Next is 233 Pinecrest Drive. We're again proposing a roughly 27-foot steel pole that will house our antenna at the top and most equipment inside. A photo simulation of what this will look like built is on the right. The pole also has the option to we can make this a street light, where the street light will sit below the antenna. Again, looking at Verizon's coverage map, this area has limited coverage, and the red circle represents the search area with limited infrastructure in the public right-of-way. The proposed pole is on the southeast corner of Bellhurst and Pinecrest, located not in front of any residence, but it's instead on a corner. You can see from these renderings facing north and south, and east on Bellhurst, the red line representing where a proposed pole will be placed. Uh, 119 Pinecrest Drive, we're proposing a 40-foot wood utility pole that will house our antenna and equipment. And again, you can see a simulation of what this will look like on the right. When it is built, it will be about 34 feet high, with our antenna sitting at roughly 25 feet. Again, you can see the coverage map, as well as the circle where we had limited options based on the backyard easement. And again, the wood pole was moved to the same side of the street as requested by the board to be in line with the current pole. and not affect the aesthetics of this area. And that's the end. Do you have questions first, or do you want me to sit?
Any questions from anybody on the board?
I just have a quick one. The map that you showed that shows coverage, is that Verizon coverage or all coverage?
Just Verizon's.
Okay, so there could be other coverage within that zone.
There could be.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we're just here to represent Verizon's issue.
I don't see any other questions. Staff have any questions? Okay. Then I guess I'll open up the public hearing. When you come for the public hearing, please, if you could, line up. There's several people that want to speak if possible. If you need a chair, please make sure a chair is appropriate for you. Please remember you have 5 minutes. Please direct all comments to the board, only to the board, and we'll give the applicant a chance to respond at the end of the public hearing.
Bernie,
Thank you.
what might be helpful,
Pause for a moment, I want to move that screen,
Sure.
just in case, because of the cords, and I don't want anybody getting tripped up.
if appropriate, could they speak to the address that they're,
I just didn't want
Therefore-
anybody,
that way I'm not
cords, makes me
negative?
nervous.
Thanks.
Sure.
If it was requested, if when you are speaking, if you could specify if you're speaking to a specific address or all of them, if you could be as specific as possible, that would be helpful. Thank you. Please state your name and address.
Yes, my name is Jim Georger. I live at 10 Lake Terrace. Most of my comments are specific to 10 Lake Terrace, but I think they apply generally. I'd say I was at the workshop meeting a couple weeks ago, and I have to say I appreciate the diligence that the board has applied to this issue. I'll read my comments. You're faced with a decision that can dramatically alter the character of Irondequoit. You have momentary control over the placement of new 5G poles, which will be lost completely when the first pole plant that you permit. Here are some of the reasons that you should adopt a no new poles policy. Lack of control has led to Verizon's current saturation of antenna on existing poles, which is growing on a daily basis. Look at your coverage map and note the non-coverage white space surrounding the splotches of coverage. Autonomous poles can and will crop up wherever Verizon or any telecom company wants them, once you've set the precedent. They need 2 poles to cover tiny little Anchor Terrace. They need 6 poles to cover Rock Beach Road, which gives you a sense of where this could go given the range of these poles. The damage to property values, which you are pledged to protect, is far greater than that of a unit placed on a utility pole on a street like St. Paul Boulevard. And I think Crown has shown you that visibility to poles doesn't have much effect on property values, and I don't dispute that. But a new pole concentrates the resale and aesthetic damage intensely on the unfortunate resident who lives in the shadow of this pole. Sure, it's a right-of-way, but it's property I maintain and an integral part of the curb appeal of my house and the neighborhood's appeal. It doesn't look any less ugly or appease potential buyers for my house because it's on an invisible right-of-way. The need for these poles, the justification counter to the damages to residents, has not been forthcoming. You haven't been told the financial impact, cost, profitability of the poles placed at my house, either by Crown Castle or Verizon. You haven't been told the number of residences within the transmission range. You haven't been told the current signal strength which already exists at my house now. You haven't even been told if there are any existing Verizon customers in the range of my tower. All of this information is withheld by Verizon as proprietary. Has Verizon even sent anyone to appear before this board at any time in the process? Well, somewhere there's a planning board that presses for information to understand the need for a permit. And when an application says, I'm not going to tell you, the board says, then you don't get a permit. I wish you could be that board. Verizon already profits greatly from its presence in Arundequoit. You owe them nothing, and there are multiple ways residents can get 5G service without emissions. Regarding emissions, it's been shown that proximity to the transmitters by the blue in the diagram of less than 6 feet is dangerous, and that it exceeds federal safety standards. So is 7 feet safe? Of course not. It's just less dangerous as one gets further away. At the workshop meeting, Crown Castle disclosed that emissions to my house will be similar to a microwave oven, which I don't run around the clock for years on end. And when the signal grows to 5G or 6G, or T-Mobile puts another transmitter on that pole, and remember, you lost control of this, then you'll have absolutely no way to stop it. I'll just need another microwave to turn on. Suppose the federal standard for safe drinking water limits lead content to 100 parts per million. And I'm here asking you for a permit for some process that only puts 20 parts per million of lead in the water supply, well below the federal standard. How about only 8 parts per million? And the next one only puts 7 parts per million. Do you understand the cumulative nature of the threat? You're charged with safeguarding the health and safety of the town, not the profitability of telecom giants. Any assurances given by Crown Castle may be sincere, but will only last until their sale to a new entity. Crown and Verizon know better than to ask for a new pole on every corner. Remember, they need 2 to cover Anchor Terrace. They need 6 to cover Rock Beach Road. But they don't dare ask for a new pole on every corner. They're too wise for that. They understand that you eat the elephant one bite at a time. And what I'm here pleading for you to do is not allow them the first bite. Thank you.
Thank you. I forgot to mention, please, no public outbursts during the meeting as allowed. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Frank Farsace. I live at 17 Beach Terrace. I'm on the lot line or the easement of 10 Lake Terrace. And I wrote this up because I had to take my time with it. My name is Frank Farsace. I own and reside at 17 Beach Terrace with my wife and our pet bulldog Lucy. Almost forgot to mention the enormous neighborhood deer herd. We have lived there for 20 plus years, invested thousands of dollars to our property. We added an 800 square foot addition in 2011 because we really wanted to stay in Somerville. I am not endorsing placing an additional 5G tower in our neighborhood. There are several already in place within close proximity to the one proposed at 10 Lake Terrace and Parkview Terrace. I will provide the board with current photos of these locations. I also am providing the board with a screenshot of my cell phone taken in my basement indicating an icon on my screen showing 5G. I also shared this screen with my neighbor who resides at 10 Lake Terrace. With the amount of existing 5G towers, no dropped calls or issues with my internet in the neighborhood, and my phone indicating 5G already, I feel the need isn't there for any placement of any new 5G cell towers. I watched the last planning board meeting and heard this board tell Crown Castle to reach out to the affected residents in regards to these cell tower sites. As far as I know, what I just heard, this representative reached out to one neighbor. At this point, nobody has reached out to me. They apparently reached out to my backyard neighbor and discussed moving the pole down Parkview Terrace east toward my lot line and placing it on the right-of-way. If this is true, I am strongly against that. My reasons are listed as follows. Number one, the elevation will change dramatically moving it down the street going east. There's a hill there on Parkview. There are driveways on both sides of the street along the right-of-way where they're going to place this new pole. There is a two-car garage and a single-car garage along with a over-the-sidewalk pathway on that right-of-way. Placing a 5G cell tower would be a safety concern for all residents on both sides of Parkview Terrace, which is a busy way out of that area. Also, reaching out down the easement to gain power for this new location, I heard is not permitted by RG&E at the last meeting because it's on an easement. If power was permitted for the changed location of the tower, either above or below ground, it would disrupt roots and branches on a large black walnut tree on the easement that my family and others, neighbors, enjoy the shade in the summer and the color in the fall. It also provides shelter and winter food for the squirrels. At this point, if the new 5G cell tower is approved for 10 Lake Terrace, I am strongly urging the planning board to leave the placement in its original site location. There is no restrictions like I have listed at the corner of Lake Terrace and Parkview Terrace where the original planned site was planned. There is already an existing wired power box in the ground and a streetlight pole at this original site. A new metal pole with 5G and a streetlight would cause very little disturbance and changed appearance to our lovely neighborhood. Also, vehicle safety and public safety will not be compromised. One more second. Lastly, I want to thank Michelle Nichols, who informed me earlier this morning, 10:44 a.m. through email, that the town has not received any changes to 10 Lake Terrace. Please leave it that way for the reasons I stated, and thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
I also have some photos that I'm going to give to Michelle she could pass around, and copies of what I just wrote. There are photos of the cell phone I explained saying 5G. There are pictures of the TV or the trees. There's pictures of the other towers in the neighborhood. There's everything here for it. There's a picture of a box where the proposed initial pole is going to go.
Thank you.
And thank you for your time.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Bob Weifels, 34 LeGrand Road. And I'm most concerned about the proposed antenna at 7 Leland and Winona Boulevard. There's also an antenna at between Catalpa Road and Balcota Road, Balcota Drive, which is just 1 block away from Leland Road, the proposed antenna site. And at my residence, which is on the same block is the new antenna, or proposed antenna. I get 3 cell bars, and if I'm standing beneath the current antenna that's on between Catalpa and Belcota, I get 3 cell bars. And if I walk back to 7 Leland Road, I get 3 cell bars. And I get 3 cell bars most everywhere on the block of LeGrand Road, just off Winona Boulevard. And I see neighbors and residents walking their dogs, and jogging and walking up and down Winona Boulevard, which is a very popular walking route and running, jogging route, using their cell phones without any problem. I don't have any problem with my cell phone. And I have a computer in my home, a cell phone. I wear a smartwatch, smart ring. I don't have any difficulty, no reception problems. And so what I'm saying is that we don't need a new antenna in the area. I pay Verizon for their service, for the cell phone service, for Wi-Fi service. I think most of the people in the area have Wi-Fi service, pay for Wi-Fi service. And no one I know in the area is in favor of this new cell tower or antenna, new antenna. So I'm here to say that we don't need it. And thank you.
Thank you.
For your time.
I'm sorry, sir, I missed you in the number of your address.
34 LeGrand Road.
34. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, board members. My name is Wendy Chiesa. I reside at 15 Leland Road. My comments are really more so general for all of the cell antennas that are proposed, but I do have a couple specific comments for the 7 Leland Road. First off, I mailed this letter initially about a month ago. I did re-email it today, just with an update of the signatures for the petition that we got from the neighborhoods. We had an overwhelming response from the, believe it or not, very few areas that we were able to hit by feet in the short period of time. But I did share that as well as an attachment to today's email. I just updated it as an addendum. So I have an extra copy of that I brought today if you'd like me to give that on paper. One of the pieces of news that has been news since I last spoke at our previous meeting was some research that I did find. One of them was, this gentleman already spoke about, is that once you approve this for Verizon to come in and put these small cell towers in, that what is being placed is not going to be sufficient. These small antenna towers need to be placed typically within every minimum 2 blocks in order to cover the territory, because they don't cover as much area as your tall cell towers do. In that email, I included a case that was from federal court. It was, and I don't know how to pronounce this, so excuse me, Extenet, I believe it's EXTE Net Systems, on behalf of Verizon Wireless versus the Village of Flower Hill, which is in New York State. I'm going to read the summary because it's a heck of a lot easier to just summarize it. I couldn't do a better job. So it says, in landmark legal decision, the Federal District Court Judge Frederick Block held on July 29th of 2022 that the Village of Flower Hill, New York, acted within its power under the Telecommunications Act of 1996 when it denied the application of Extenet Incorporated, a telecommunications company working for Verizon Wireless, to install 8 small cell 4G wireless antennas in their public right-of-ways in their village. And there's a link in that email as well. It goes directly to this court case. So our precedence has been set. Most notably, the judge did say in the U.S. District Court, and this was for the Eastern District of New York, he concluded that so as long as there is the ability to make voice calls, the locality is compliant with the TCA in rejecting the application. Extenet did not win their argument that there was a gap in coverage because Verizon Wireless customers could still make a wireless telephone call in the village. according to the judge's decision, improved capacity and speed are desirable and no doubt profitable goals in the engagement of smartphones, but they are not protected by the FCC Act, and the link for that is also included. I can speak personally. My roommate has a Verizon phone. She's lived with us for 3 years. She has absolutely no problems with her connectivity or making phone calls or even with dropped calls. And I do know that in one of our meetings, it was requested that Verizon provide us with the proof of the need for these excess antennas to be installed. I don't know if the board ever received that information. So as for 7 Leland Road, I disagree. I'm sorry, respectfully disagree with what was presented here. And I urge you to do the same that you have urged the other builder, is go do a walkthrough. Take a look at where these poles are being placed. Sit on that person's front porch. On Leland Road, it's maybe not in direct alignment with the front of my neighbor's house. It's on the side road, so it would be across from her porch that she would be looking out from her porch onto this tower. But the houses right directly across the street are very much affected. If you go and sit on their porch, you will see that it's right in their line of vision, right out their picture windows. So I'm sure they're not very happy about it either. One of the people happens to be a person that bought their house. She's from Texas, out of state. I'm sure she's not even aware of what's going on, so she hasn't been able to be present and speak, because she does still live in Texas. So it's going to be a surprise to her when she all of a sudden retires and comes to live in her happy retirement area and see this pole sitting in her front door. So we respectfully ask the board to decline this based off of the fact that it does affect the aesthetics of our neighborhood. The overwhelming response is people do not want them in the right-of-ways. It's just something we don't want, we've never had, and it's against our town code at upholding the aesthetics of this community. I think that was about it, other than the fact that I know we've all posed many questions, and I'd like to know where we can seek the answers to those multiple questions from our previous board meetings. I have not seen anything posted on the website or found any additional information about it.
Thank you.
And Michelle, did you still need these papers?
If you want, yes, so that I can scan it and get it to the board. Right, but, okay. Sorry, thank you for waiting.
You're welcome. Good evening. Rich Christner, 492 Gardem Road. I'm just speaking in my opposition to this proposal on multiple levels. First of all, I don't think any telecom company should have the right to impose their will on any resident of any town. When people buy their homes, they don't expect these things to happen. Town right-of-ways usually for streets, sidewalks, maybe sewers, things that are usually buried underground that we don't usually see. Most of these installations right now are in West Irondequoit, a handful of them. I doubt there's anyone in East Irondequoit who even realizes this discussion is going on right now. My feeling is if you let these applications go through, it'll just set precedents, and this will happen all over town. Everywhere from Culver Parkway, Witten Road, all the way up to Seabreeze, into the flats, and I doubt anyone will be happy. Ask yourselves, would you be happy if this was imposed upon you? Because you're all Irondequoit residents. I know I wouldn't be happy. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Josh Gilbert, 180 Bellhurst Drive. Talking about the proposed one on Pinecrest 223, but the other one's 10 houses away on Pinecrest, so we'll talk about that one as well. My wife and I moved here to Irondequoit specifically for the education. We have 4 children. We bought the house. One of the selling points was there were no lines in the front. There's no street lights, there's no power lines, there's no anything else. To say that it's not in front of anybody's house, the 6 houses or 7 houses that this would cover are all facing this pole on 223 Pinecrest. If we sit in our front yard, we're staring at a pole. Our neighbors sitting in a nice sitting area that they just built will be staring at this pole. So to say that no one sees it is not true. It is in front of houses, and there isn't anything else there. The other thing is there seems to be some misinformation about what you need cell coverage for. Most of you are getting bars in your house because it's covered under your Wi-Fi. You don't need cell service for that. So to have more cell service for coverage, you're going to be able to make those calls from your house anyway because it works off your Wi-Fi that you're already paying for the internet. Most people are paying for internet now. So it is going to take our home values down if you put these in front. And my kids sleep at that level. And while they had this nice graphic that said it's really dangerous close, but maybe not as dangerous further, it's at the same level as my children where they sleep. And I would just like the board to think about, do you want your children or grandchildren sleeping at the same level where they're emitting these radio waves into the house? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Paula Bush, and I live at 512 Winona Boulevard, one of the most beautiful areas I could think of. I moved there in 2006, and I will not go and repeat everything that everyone has already said. I live a block and a half from a proposed post. I would not want to be living in that house. If I lived in that house, if I lived across from that house, I would be screaming and yelling. I won't see it from my house directly, but also remember that those houses do not have a ton of frontage either, so that anyone is going to see that from their house. I hear people when they walk at 6:30 in the morning before I'm ready to get up, and it sounds like they're in my bedroom with me. That's how close we are to that. That person who lives there and the people around that, that's what they're going to see. All of the things that people have said tonight, I think, are very important. I hope the board takes all of that into consideration. And I am a Verizon customer. I don't want it in my neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Kerry Ryan, 595 Winona Boulevard. This is the 3rd meeting I've attended with this as the main topic, and I have heard one alarmed citizen after another give this board one good reason after another why this proposal should be turned down. We know who's going to benefit from it, but not many of them live here in Arundequoit. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ann Burns, and my family and I live at 199 Bellhurst Drive. One of these Star Wars-looking metal poles at 233 Pinecrest Drive would be in direct sight of the front of our home. 10 houses away from this pole is another proposed pole at the corner of Washington Ave and Pinecrest Drive at 119 Pinecrest. Our house was built in 1941. It's basically a bomb shelter. It's stucco concrete over concrete block. We also live in the midst of very mature trees. That's what makes Arundequoit such a valuable community, are all our mature trees. We have never, even with all these obstructions, had a dropped call. So I wanted to, put that out there. 5G and the next generation of technologies that we don't even know about yet, they're relatively new.
And future outcomes, side effects, they're not known yet. The existing safety standards, and we've heard this at the third meeting, this is the third meeting, they were enacted in 1996, and that was when flip phones were cutting edge. So I'm just making the point that Crown Castle has really failed to provide any assurances that these RF emissions are safe other than to cite obsolete and outdated standards until they can tell us irrefutably and indisputably that these tower poles will not cause any short-term or long-term harm, you know, to any of our young children, our beloved residents. You know, people are going to continue to challenge this, and they should. In the existing 5G market, in these small towers, Crown Castle is planning to exit this in just a few months. Despite this, they're now making a final push to secure these new sales just months before their planned exit. And the town would risk being tied to the equipment or the agreements with no clear path for future support or upgrades. And I just question whether we all are acting in the town's best interest, you know, trying to have these come in. Certainly Crown Castle looking for last-minute revenue before they wind down their operations on these cell poles. So other things to be taken into account. My last point is about home rule. I'd like to reference that at the local level. Home rule refers to the power of a municipality to govern itself with a degree of autonomy. This means that local governments can make decisions about their own affairs. This allows our town more control, allows the town to address local needs and priorities more effectively. We need to be a leader to advocate for our residents. Greece is also facing this same issue. We need to partner together. It's just across communities, we need to advocate for the safety and the property values of our residents. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Denise Flanagan. I live at 698 List Avenue. I am here to speak on behalf of Patty and Mike Mauer, who live at 88 Pinecrest. They had a previously scheduled commitment and could not be here, so I'm going to read their comments. They respectfully ask that this written email, or they emailed this as well, this document serve as their formal opposition to the installation of any and all 5G small cell towers or poles on our residential streets. And by the way, they are speaking on behalf of all these locations, but they live closest to 119 Pinecrest and 233 Pinecrest. We ask that you deny Crown Castle's current application based on their failures show that 5G small cell emissions are safe or free from potential health risks, fail to prove necessity of coverage expansion, fail to demonstrate commitment to residents' interests and long-term operational oversight and accountability, failure to show standard best practice and due diligence in site locations. Crown Castle contends that the towers and poles holding antennas and other equipment are safe with no health risks and simply relies on the standards of a 24-year-old regulation that is outdated and obsolete. This lack of assurance raises legitimate concerns among residents as to long-term effects of exposure, especially considering the evolving nature of this telecommunications technology and the outdated federal guidelines still in use. Some reports have indicated that current safety guidelines might not be sufficiently protective, particularly given that 5G technology has only been in use for the past 5 or 6 years. This is especially relevant when considering unknowns around long-term compounding and cumulative exposure, which have not yet been adequately measured or addressed by existing regulations. Children are more vulnerable to RF radiation due to their developing bodies and brains. They are involuntarily exposed to emissions from cell phones, tablets, routers, wireless baby monitors, headphones, gaming devices, and so on. These can all be turned off. You cannot turn off the emissions from the cell towers and poles, which are nonstop day and night with potential long-term and cumulative exposure resulting in some reporting of potential neurological symptoms, genetic concerns, and other cancer risks. This should not be ignored or understated when deciding to locate towers within yards of people's homes. Patty has undergone surgery for tumors, received radiation treatments for their growth, and had multiple MRIs to monitor progression. Tumors usually begin small and may remain stable for years or grow slowly over a decade, eventually affecting motor or auditory nerves and in turn impacting body functions. Her point is that 5G and next-generation technologies are relatively new and future outcomes or side effects are not yet known. Existing safety standards are based on outdated guidelines from 1996, which cannot reflect current technologies or real-world long-term exposure risk. Crown Castle has failed to provide any assurances that these RF emissions are safe other than to cite obsolete and outdated standards. Until they can tell her irrefutably and indisputably that their towers will not cause any short-term or long-term harm to our young children and beloved residents, she will continue to challenge any push to force them upon us. Crown Castle has failed to prove that residents near 119 Pinecrest need additional coverage, capacity, or increased speed. 4G provides cellular coverage to a cellular network and uses its services for calls or texting. Obstacles to the strength of that signal are building trees, weather conditions, metal, type of phone, network congestion, which can result in dropped calls. 5G provides faster speed and increased capacity to handle multiple devices simultaneously with clearer sound and music. She's reviewed the castle's map of coverage and believed that they have failed to conclusively show that 119 Pinecrest site is a serious cellular cold spot in need of help. She invites Crown Castle to visit the site and make note of the number of no 5G signs that residents have voluntarily put in their front yards. A few residents do not have the signs simply because they have no policy to put signs in their yards, but are still in opposition to it. Approximately 100 signs were distributed throughout Pinecrest, Washington, Bellhurst, parts of Glenmont, Harvington, and St. Paul. Residents came from other site locations, so more were ordered. This show of signs, like other show of hands, is clear and unmistakable confirmation that residents, at least at 119 Pinecrest, do not need and do not want 5G small cell antennas anywhere near their homes. Mike and Patty live in admits 100-foot oak and spruce trees and live in a steel frame brick house built by Bethlehem Steel before World War II. The steel beams have poured wrapped cement with Meyer Wesch and welded steel ties for reinforcement. Even with these obstructions, they have never had a drop call. Having a large family and many grandchildren using multiple devices at once, they have never had an issue with connectivity. More importantly, she's attended the workshop on June 9th. As a result, where Crown Castle declined to disclose the current level of coverage in our area. As a result, they have failed to demonstrate any clear need for supplemental infrastructure to enhance coverage, capacity, or speed. She has more, but I can.
Denise, I think we got this in email. Was
Yes,
there
you did.
anything added to it that's?
I don't know because I don't.
Okay, I think we have this, is what I was
Okay.
going to try to tell you. We got this earlier. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Paul Tavano. I'm at 585 Winona Boulevard, directly across from Leland Road. In fact, if this is placed in the proposed location, I will be able to open my front door, look out, and it'll be directly across. The only thing separating it is the width of Winona Boulevard from my home. My home was featured prominently, in fact, in the file photo and the presentation. I think it's completely against the it's inconsistent, the established aesthetics of the neighborhood. There's no utility poles, there's no lamp posts or wires in the street in this section of Winona, really in either direction for quite a ways. It's a park-like neighborhood, and it's what drew me into the neighborhood. I just moved in within the last year, and I definitely have safety concerns. My bedroom is in the front of the home. It'll be, probably 30 feet away from this proposed tower location. My daughter's bedroom also is in the front of my house and right at the same level of the tower, similar to what a previous gentleman mentioned. I have serious concerns, safety. I don't want to be a canary in the coal mine. And I also do not want to look outside, right outside my front door, and see a cell tower directly across from me. And I don't think any of you would either. I highly recommend that the board goes and views these locations if you haven't already. Sit on my front steps at 585 Winona and picture a cell tower directly across from it and see if that would be something you would want in front of your house. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ron Kraus, 111 Bellhurst Drive. Concerning the cell antennas at 233 Pinecrest and 119 Pinecrest Drives, and many other locations in this proposal, we've been residents on Bellhurst Drive for 51 years. Up to now, it's always been peaceful, serene, and beautiful. These proposed so-called small cell towers will destroy the wonderful tranquility of the Maywood neighborhood. Please vote for the common good, the people of Arundequite, not the preferred few, Castle and Verizon. The town has designated our area as an R1 neighborhood, and rightfully so. If you place a tower in the middle of the town, in the middle of the neighborhood, there goes the character of the neighborhood. We've never had a problem with existing cell service. Dangerous radiation is emitted for children and other living things. Even though it's not been proven that it's carcinogenic, it will be. Monolithic, ugly eyesores, destroying the appeal of the R1 neighborhood. There's always been a saying, Arundequite is a town for a lifetime. Who would want to move into a town that's got steel towers on the corners in front of houses in neighborhoods? Would you want to raise your children that way? I don't think so. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm last. You can clap, but you don't have to. Hi, I'm the third time I'm at one of these meetings, and you guys have done a whole lot of work. My name is Tom Lavin, 100 Summershire Drive. I represent several people on our street who are not interested in the 122 Mayfair. These poles are they're not needed. And we love this neighborhood. You guys do a good job. There are, for every person out here, there are a lot of people who would be here tonight, or their spirits are here. It's a great town, great education system. People do respond to each other, government, and the people who live here. There are two companies that already provide 5G for total coverage. One's AT&T and the other one's T-Mobile. Do we need a third? We have a third, but we're just asking for 5 poles not to be used. For those 5 poles, I can ask you,
Please direct it to the board. I'm sorry.
For 5 poles, I can ask Crown Castle, can they run Verizon Fios cable to anybody that asks for 5G? Nobody has come in here asking for 5G, but if anybody does, they can run cable, fiber cable to that location. We don't need it. We have people that are going to lose value in their homes, value of the community spirit that we have here. And I love this town, and it means a lot. And these seats would be filled, or for the next one, we'll fill them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Linda Wilson at 98 Harvington Drive. I'll just keep it really quick because this is my 3rd meeting here. But I kind of remember back in the beginning, Brandy said there were 56 cell towers or whatever they are, originally. They got everyone done except for these last, they have to create a pole to put them on. Do we really, really, really need to ruin our neighborhoods and cause a health risk to wildlife, children, anything else, just for 8 things? And once you open that door, I think I read a federal regulation that said they then can put them every 600 feet once you open that door. So I beg you, please, please deny these last poles to be input. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Donald Wright. I live at 126 Pinecrest Drive. One of the proposed towers will be diagonally across from me at 119 Pinecrest. The other tower on 233 Pinecrest within 100 yards. I don't know anybody in West Arundecoit that loses cell coverage. No one has come to me. Mrs. Burns lives in a concrete bunker that's going to be 15 yards from a proposed tower, and she has great reception. This seems to be maybe an endemic to West Arundecoit. I don't know. I haven't seen any proposals for building towers over in East Arundecoit. And as a licensed real estate appraiser for the past 45 plus years, I see a potential for loss in value to property owners within range of these cell towers. You're going to have younger people moving into this district, and they're going to look at these cell towers and say, do I want them? They're going to be a lot more educated than we are to this matter about potential hazards, and they're going to look elsewhere to buy homes, which will have a direct impact on future values, future appeal, and marketability of properties surrounding these proposed towers. So my recommendation is not to go through with this. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Van Wert. I live at 107 Montclair. I was one of the original folks who has been opposed to the cell tower, or to the cell antennas. We had a pole that was to be located at 123 Montclair. Myself, my neighbors, all of them were very much opposed, and when we asked why we needed it, we were told that it was necessary. When we also asked why a pole needed to be placed 30 feet from our homes, and we were told it was the only place it could go. Not long ago, the application was pulled. We thought in victory, perhaps we finally made some progress, only to be told that it was co-located to the RG&E pole 10 feet north, or south, I'm sorry, of the original proposed pole location. So I'm here to ask, was there really due diligence since a pole had been designated, a new pole was designated for that location? Is there really due diligence in these safety regulations that everyone keeps saying that that have been reviewed? I do recall that the town's attorney had asked if we could have our own RF engineer look into this and perhaps speak to this issue. I would strongly encourage we do that for the safety reasons that everyone has noted here. We have a beautiful community. We have families. None of us want to live 30 feet from an antenna directly beaming into our bedrooms. And that's exactly what's going to happen, not only to those that are with the new poles, but also those who have been co-located. It's a frightening thing. Homes should be our safe place, right? We shouldn't be worried about what we are exposed to on a continuous basis, being bombarded. I mean, our children, our pets, again, I apologize if I'm not making much sense, but I just felt I needed to say that. I need to ask you to please think about what we're doing. It's a corporation. Our families need you. Please rule against this entirety and whatever we can do to stop those antennas that are going up on the poles. Please restrict them from doing this. It's only going to get worse. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak to the board? Seeing none, No, you can only come up once. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Would Crown Castle like to respond to any of the residents' comments?
You have specific questions?
You heard them during this presentation, so.
I think we answered most of the RF questions with also studies from 2025. Again, if there are specific ones, I do have an RF engineer who's much more equipped to answer those questions. I think the only thing that came up was the sale of the company, and I think we've already discussed that the sale of the company will also sell all the assets as well as employees. So our name will be changing, but all of our assets will remain the same as well as our employees. So we will be continuing to operate.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Based on that, at this time, the board's going to break for a session for attorney-client privilege. We're going to have a discussion prior to coming back. Okay, we're going to go to the conference room.
We'll do a brief recess and then maybe 10, 15 minutes.
No, we're good. Okay. So to the applicant, I think thank you for your time. I want to make sure we stated that. At this point, I just want to make sure, does the board have any other questions to ask at this time?
I'm good with the amount of information that we've been provided to make a decision.
Okay. Your microphone.
My apology. I'm satisfied with the amount of information we've got, and I'm able to make a decision based on that.
Okay. Everybody's good? Okay. Yeah. So it's our review that we felt you haven't met the burden to show the gap in coverage that we've asked for and the need for these cell towers. So I'm going to be reading this proclamation. I ask for your patience as I read through that. So as of today's date, 6/23/2025, resolution regarding the Town of Arundecoyt Planning Board preliminary and final site plan application for Crown Castle Fiber LLC, cases PB 2025-04-01, PB 2025-04-02, PB 2025-04-03, PB 2025-0404, and PB 2025.04.07. Whereas the Planning Board of the Town of Arundecoyt has received and reviewed applications submitted by Crown Castle Fiber LLC for preliminary/final site plan approval to construct and operate small cell wireless facilities on new utility poles at the following locations: in front of, near, or the vicinity of 122 Mayfair Drive, that's PB 2025-04.01, in front of, near, or the vicinity of 7 Leland Road, PB 2025.04.02, in front of, near, or in the vicinity of 10 Lake Terrace, PB 2025.04.03, and in front of, near, or in the vicinity of 233 Pinecrest Drive, PB 2025.04.04, and in front of, near, or in the vicinity of 119 Pinecrest Drive, PB 2025.04.07, and whereas the Planning Board discussed the applications at its workshop meeting on April 14th, 2025, and June 9th, 2025, and whereas the Planning Board requested the applicant to provide additional information to support its review of the applications, including information demonstrating a gap in coverage, and whereas the Planning Board held a public hearing to consider the applications on April 28th, 2025, and whereas the Planning Board continued the public hearing at its meeting on June 23rd, 2025, and whereas the attorneys for the Planning Board and applicant agreed to extend the time to consider the applications under applicable regulations through and including June 24th, 2025, and whereas The planning board has considered the materials submitted by the applicant, together with testimony of the applicant and members of the public, and has analyzed the applications against the criteria set forth in town code, and now therefore be it resolved that based on the information set forth in the record, the planning board of the town of Arundequoit hereby denies the applications for preliminary final site plan for each of the sites set forth above. And be it further resolved that the planning board makes the following findings to support its decision. The applicant failed to meet its burden of establishing the need to place the telecommunications facilities in the proposed locations as required by Town Code Section 235-135B 2C. Applicant's letter of intent for each location indicated that the proposed facilities were to augment existing wireless providers' coverage for this area and provide enhanced communications. The applicant failed to demonstrate a gap in coverage, and in particular failed to demonstrate a gap in Verizon's ability to have access to landlines for voice calling within the town of Arundequoit in general or the proposed sites in particular. During the planning board's workshop meeting on June 9th, 2025, representatives of the applicant conceded that the applicant does not have data to support an argument that there is a gap in voice coverage. The applicant failed to submit the brief statement and supporting documentation providing sufficient technical evidence demonstrating the need to place the telecommunications facilities where proposed within the town of Arundequoit. This is a requirement of Article XX2, 22 of Chapter 235 zoning of the town code. Information regarding gaps in coverage was requested by the planning board on several occasions during its review. The applicant failed to demonstrate that Verizon cannot fulfill its obligations to its customers unless such telecommunications facilities are erected within the town at the proposed locations. The areas within the town where the telecommunication facilities are proposed to be installed within the street right-of-way are currently characterized by a mature tree canopy and sidewalks within front yards, which contribute significantly to the visual quality, walkability, and residential character of the neighborhood. Existing utility poles are primarily located in rear yard utility corridors, preserving the open and green character of the front streetscape. The applicant proposes to construct new utility poles in the street right-of-way within established residential neighborhoods where existing utility infrastructure is predominantly located in rear yards. The sitting pattern is not consistent with the physical layout and visual expectations of the community. Introducing vertical infrastructure into the street right-of-way area alters the streetscape and will impair neighborhood aesthetics, setting a precedent that could damage the existing character. The applicant failed to submit a report demonstrating good faith efforts to secure shared use from existing communications towers as required by Town Code Section 235-135D2. The applicant failed to submit copies of written requests and any responses received thereto concerning shared use as required by Town Code Section 235-135D2. I'm looking for a second on that motion.
Second.
I'm going to do a roll call. Mr. Yanish? Mr. Richards?
Yes.
Mr. Burdick?
Aye.
Mr. Caterino?
Aye.
Ms. Hefner?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Therefore, it's denied. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 aye and 1 absent. Thank you for your time. Please, we still have a meeting going on. Thank you. We still have a meeting going on. Michelle, please call the next case.
The next items on the agenda are town board referrals.
Hold on a second, Michelle. Do you have to stay, Peter, or are you going to stay for these?
We're gonna stay.
Yeah, he's got town board referral.
You got town board referrals, so you're going to stay?
Stay.
Okay.
Unless you need me to, unless you don't want me to stay.
Oh, why would you leave?
Stay,
With all the fun we have up here?
just in case.
Thank you.
I-
Let's give everybody a couple minutes to
Tomorrow,
exit.
Frank? Call me tomorrow.
We still got a meeting going on. Thank
Meeting,
you.
sorry, sir. Town Board Referral 07PH 2025-1, request by Land Tech Planning and Surveying as property owner has submitted an application to rezone 31 Dozier Lane, tax ID 092.07-1-85 in the R1 Residential District to Ridge Road Plan Development District for the development of proposed mini storage units and flex space office buildings. Flex office space building, excuse me. So the board knows this is a referral. We do either a positive or negative referral in regards to the rezoning of the application.
And I know I know John is not here to answer any of our questions.
He usually does a good job, too.
Yeah, and I do have questions, especially on this one. Like, Dozier is a private road, and it looks like they're trying to gain access through another private road that is owned by the town. Is that correct?
So, so the proposing to, change the address to Eastridge Road and use the road.
So they're using a private road to enter?
It's not, I don't believe it's a private road.
It's gotta be the DPW road. I know the beginning part has houses on it, but as you go further back, this is why I would like John here. I also would like to know
I remember seeing it at the time.
what it means by proposed material storage that seems to be open in the northwest corner of the property. And then finally, the only thing that he wants to put here is what he needs a special use permit for under the code.
Correct, but he won't apply for the special use permit until if he gets it rezoned.
Right,
So
but it's
he-
not a guaranteed, my point is that it's not a guaranteed placement of something. There's tons of other stuff, and I get the code was designed to enhance economic activity. I'm not sure that this project actually does that.
Well, did you see the presentation to the board when he did it?
Wait, I did not see that.
I did, and he discussed, they're gonna have all different kinds of businesses. It's a lot of businesses that people do in their garages, that they're gonna move into these spaces. Did I understand that correctly? Yeah.
Which even makes me question more about the access point. Did he say how that was happening?
I don't remember a whole lot of discussion about the access point, but I do remember the concept was really cool. I will say that.
Sorry, I'll just note that, similar to what Alan was saying of when you do a rezoning, that you want to know generally what the person wants to do, just to understand their intent, but ultimately, you want to look at all of the uses that are permitted and specially permitted in whatever the district they're rezoning it to, because they aren't, they're not mandated or held to whatever they presented. They don't have to do that.
Right.
They could do anything that's allowed by right within that district. So, like I said, I think that it's, you want to know generally what they're thinking of doing, so you understand, so you understand their intent. But yeah, I would also consider all the uses that are allowed in the zone they're rezoning it to as well.
What you're saying is, he could be saying eventually they might be doing mini storage, but he could do whatever else the zone allows at some point.
And it's nothing against, like, not saying this person in particular. I'm
Anybody-
just saying that it'll be
anybody, but-
rezoned in perpetuity as whatever they're choosing it to be rezoned as. So that's just something to think about.
Kate or Michelle, since we're talking about uses, what uses are allowed in the zoning district?
Do you mind pulling that up, Michelle?
In the Ridge Road? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe it was in the.
Yeah, it was in the stuff you sent us. and
R1, it's R1, because it's a house.
Pardon?
Yeah, but it's currently R1. Is that what the question was?
Well,
No,
what would we
he's
call it?
asking.
Ridge Road. I have it here. So, residential, multiple dwelling, retail, professional and medical offices, banks and other financial institutions, restaurants, cinemas, theaters, and other places of public assemblage, but not including adult motion picture theaters, adult theaters, or adult uses. Personal services, including but not limited to dry cleaning, laundries or laundromats, barbershops, hair and nail salons, and car washes. Hotels, educational facilities, learning and training centers, and similar uses. Daycare facilities, private or nonprofit. Medical facilities, laboratories, light manufacturing and warehousing facilities that comply with subsection 235-39A, public parks, playgrounds, and similar recreational areas, municipal facilities, parking facilities and structures operated as accessory use and/or parking structures operated for monetary gain. Special use permit, the following uses shall require a special use permit pursuant to Article 16 of this chapter is 1, funeral homes, 2, animal hospitals and kennels, and 3, mini storage facilities.
What about dispensaries? Are those covered now, or?
Those are in a different district.
Okay, I just want to make sure they're not in this one.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, and those are isolated actually to specific locations.
Yeah, there was only 2 that could be approved when we went and did that.
Yeah, I remember that, but I just want to make sure
Without.
nothing's changed.
Hence, we all have to travel someplace else.
So just thinking aloud based on all those uses that are allowed there, you know, if the town board was to approve this rezoning, you know, the one thing that they might want to look into, and as a recommendation, seeing if the applicant would be amenable to deed restricting the property. So some of those uses, you know, especially the high-intensity ones, would be prohibited on it even if they had the zoning in place. That's just a thought.
I'm not good with this until I know a little bit more information. I mean, what?
You'd like John
seriously,
to come to us and explain?
we've got till the 23rd, right? We have we have till next month to get this done. We could do it at the workshop.
It's actually John and a partner, correct, if I remember?
Yeah, I think you mentioned that at the meeting.
Yeah. I can't remember the name of the company, but.
And
I thought it was a very positive presentation, to be honest.
No, I'm sure it would be, but I just wanted a
John
few
always
questions
covers,
asked.
he always covers everything, so.
Yeah, I just have a couple questions that I'm not sure about, and I don't know that I want to give somebody permission to do a zone change and then issue a special use permit on that, which would travel forever with the property.
She knows you. Is there,
But no sidewalks, so.
is the next town board the 16th or the 23rd?
Town, I believe the workshop, bear with me, I'm sorry.
It'll mirror ours
No,
on
this
the
has to be done
14th.
by the 22nd according to the resolution that they have passed.
I almost wish she could put up on the board his presentation, but I guess we don't do it that way, right?
No, and I'm more than happy to do it, but I wish somebody would have shown up just to answer a couple questions.
So the next town board, I'm sorry, repeat your question, because I'm getting a lot of questions all at once. So when did you
Can I
want
go home?
That was his question. When's the next town board meeting?
Yeah.
The next town board meeting is July 14th and July 22.
22nd is when they're going to
Is
have
the
the
public
public
hearing.
hearing on this issue.
Correct.
So what I'm suggesting is that maybe we could get some information from John.
On the 14th at our workshop.
Yeah,
On-
these things, we've
at
done
our
these at the
workshop.
workshops
Oh,
before.
absolutely.
Yeah, They don't
Yeah.
have to be public hearings, right? Let's do that, and either that or maybe if Michelle could put it up there, you could hear John explain what it is.
Yeah, but he might not answer your questions, and you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
if they're not answering my questions, it's probably some great entertainment. I mean, John is always good for that, but
All right,
that's my recommendation is
I'm
that we
fine.
adjourn this until,
anybody opposed to doing that?
It would be the July 14th workshop.
and I
Planning
can
board.
send you the questions that I just asked. So if you want to forward them on to John, and if he's not able to make the 14th, we're able to fulfill our obligation back to the board, the town board. Is that all right, Bernie?
Oh, yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah,
I just thought.
If I hadn't
What
driven
he was
back
planning on
there-
doing, I hadn't heard before, and it was really interesting. So, it could be like what you're doing at home, if you're running a business at home, you could move it here.
It'd be a great place for 3 tall buildings to house people instead of
You know
over
that
on.
dispensary you got in your garage?
Right.
Yeah, so. Really kidding. Okay.
And what was my address on Endicott again?
Okay, we're not gonna go there. Okay. All right, so is that okay, Michelle? We'll make that request? Just postpone it?
I will send you this stuff first thing in the morning, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I do have questions on the next one. I see there's nobody here. It seems like this one's been
We've
before us
rezoned this before.
so many times. I'm getting confused now as to what it is they're trying to do. So can you kind of summarize it?
Sure. So, let me just
I mean,
pull
how
the
many times?
application up.
I know. It's even different people now, right?
No, I think it's the same guys that own
They own the,
Eagle Ridge.
that
Eagle-
apartment, yeah, Eagle Ridge or whatever that's called.
yeah, I mean, those are great apartments, I think, for people.
But are they taking them down with
So
this?
this actually will help clean up this area because one of the parcels is a split zoning classification. And, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. I want to make sure I have the right.
Where they're gonna put this proposed building, is there anything there now?
Yeah.
Well, there's
All the little
1776.
The daycare,
Oh,
yeah.
what about all those little apartments at Eagle Ridge? Those are
It's-
staying.
Those are behind that, those are gonna stay.
Those are gonna
Same
stay.
owner, I think.
They're gonna stay.
Yeah.
And this is that area that they've redone several times.
Correct. So this will actually, take the 1710 parcel and encumber it with the 4 to the north to make one parcel for the apartment buildings that
Are
they're
they gonna take
proposing.
something down and build something new? That's
Correct.
Yeah,
all of
they
it.
have
They're
to.
gonna take it down.
There used to be that manufacturing building that's closest to, the plaza there.
But if I remember, wasn't there a pediatrician in there too, a doctor's office?
Yeah.
Yeah, And,
That's to the south. That's on 1700 parcel.
oh, it's not part of this parcel.
Aronica Pediatrics to the south.
But wasn't there something about the traffic and all, I remember from that last
Did
time?
a traffic, not a bump, but whatever the larger ones
There
are,
was issues about the
because of the
traffic.
daycare, to slow traffic down, traffic calming. And probably made them do a bike rack.
Can we see the other application and do the same thing, look at this, only to see what they did the last time? Well, I don't, it's up to you guys.
I'm fine with that because
Yeah, I'm
I'm not,
confused.
if it's a 3-story building, he's gonna need another variance from the ZBA, isn't he?
3 stories.
This is to rezone this from R1 and M manufacturing, what it is currently zoned right now, to R5.
And a 3-story building's allowed in an R5?
Well, they'll,
I don't think so.
it goes by height.
Right. My guess is these are probably 10 feet ceiling, so it's,
No, he says right in his declaration that a 5-foot variance will be required.
yeah, okay.
I mean, I guess it's more of the same. We could do a positive.
Yeah, I mean, we've rezoned that parcel so many times, it doesn't matter to me what it goes to.
It wasn't these specific parcels though, Alan, it was the parcels to the south.
Okay.
Right.
Right, it's
Right.
Didn't we give them permission to build the newer apartment building that would be a little further north?
How do you get in and out of this? Off of Eagle Ridge?
No, off of
Hudson Avenue. There should be a site plan within your applications.
Right, I don't see a
Okay.
driveway though.
But if we're,
So it's off of Hudson to Eagle Ridge Circle, not to that 1700 area.
No.
It does show an entrance, like right across from the pediatrician there, which, I mean, it's site plan.
Right, are we just approving the rezoning and then they obviously major site plan coming?
Yeah, he's gotta
So
do
we
site
could get all this cleaned up in site plan versus the rezoning, I don't have an issue with, but past that, the site plan will be all the consideration.
Yeah, similarly, I would consider the R5 zoning, what's allowed there. That's the first step. Are those uses appropriate in this area? And then, yes, you'll be able to have your chance to talk about circulation, curb cuts,
I can give it a positive.
all that
referral
other stuff.
tonight. Anybody not give it a positive referral tonight?
No, but, I mean, you can see on here, next to the water retention, that building that's not marked anything, we gave them permission to build that building.
This one.
The one to the south, closest to Eagle
Yeah.
Ridge, actually would be the east. Or,
I'm fine with a positive. Is there anything we want to say?
yeah,
Guys, let's wrap it up.
Can't wait to see you in
Yeah.
site plan.
Peter's making a lot of money. No, sorry.
he's a retainer, he gets nothing more.
That was wise not to do that.
What? Oh, why is it to the retainer?
I would
We
be
can
happy to
negotiate
give
for you
this
the next time.
a positive referral, because I believe that it would help meet the goals of the town, the county, and the state regarding housing. It would bring some continuity in zoning to that area that has many zones to it.
So how do you want to say that? Clean up the zoning?
It would, yeah, provide continuity for
Provide.
the entire parcel by making it R5. I also believe our message to the town board should include the fact that we are anxious to see a detailed site plan. If anybody has anything else for justification.
Anybody else? Who are these guys again? I just want to make sure. Still Antec? Okay. Is John Sharaba this time? It wasn't him the last time. It was Mark IV or something like that, if I remember.
I don't think these guys were Mark IV. It was
No.
somebody else.
No?
This is a private family who's owned this
Okay.
chunk of land for a long time.
All right. Like I said, I'm confused.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, I missed who made the motion and who seconded it.
We haven't got that
Alan
far.
made the motion with three recommendations of a positive referral with three recommendation. Help meets the goals of the county, state, and town for housing, provides continuity for zoning for the whole parcel, and anxious to see detailed site plan.
Second.
Mr. Burdick seconds it. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, and one absent. Any other business before the board?
No, sir.
Meeting, I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Meeting adjourned.